sometimes. I'm not in control of the stories. I have no clue how this stuff works. I just follow the stories, I said. I finally looked into the bus. A body appeared in the driver's seat. It was decaying, more bone than flesh. The thing in the driver's seat resembled a zombie. It was no longer human. It turned toward me and grinned, a half grin. I took a step back.
I do exist, as you can clearly see. It seems like you're in a bit of trouble here, trapped in a nightmare, just like people in the stories that you write. I'll make you a deal, one you can't refuse. It will be beneficial to both of us. I'll give you a ride out of this nightmare, and you get back to writing my story. It'll be a win-win for both of us,
Bobby Richards said. I can't get back to writing your story. I have no damn clue where it's going next. I don't even see the next line in the story. The story went quiet on me. I'm not in control of them. I don't even know if I have the manuscript for it anymore, I said.
You better still have the damn manuscript. You just better, or you're going to be in a world of hurting. That's the deal. I give you a ride out of this nightmare, and you finish writing my story. If you don't agree to those terms, then you can remain in this nightmare and deal with what is in the darkness. Personally, I would choose to get on the bus. It beats the alternative,
Bobby said. It's not dark. The sun is out. You must be blind, I said, then broke off because the sun winked out. Darkness was all around me. The only light came from inside the bus itself. I looked around, but could see nothing. The darkness was complete. I turned back toward the bus, then heard movement behind me. I turned around, looked, but saw nothing.
I wouldn't play around. Time is short. You don't want to find out what is in the darkness,
Bobby Richards said. I turned back toward the bus, began to think about my options. I really had none. Getting on the bus was all I had, because I didn't want to stay in the darkness. I heard movement to my right, just a whisper of movement, but it was there. I looked, but saw nothing. I turned back toward the bus, took a step toward it, then heard movement to my left. I looked that way, but didn't see anything. This is not good. I know there are some nasty things in the darkness. I just can't see them. I can get out of here by promising to write Bus 67. That's what I'll do. I have no damn clues about that story. Don't even know if I still have it. But that doesn't matter. I can promise to write it. Get a ride out of here. Then not worry about it once I'm safe. Bobby won't know the difference. And he won't be able to do a thing about it once I'm out of here, I thought. I looked at the bus. Bobby was sitting in the driver's seat, shaking his head no. His eyes began to blaze red. The next second, he was standing directly in front of me. His eyes blazed red. He looked more demonic than human. I took a step back, stumbled, and almost fell. He grinned. It made him look even more demonic.
You forgot something, E.T. brother. I can read your mind. You don't want to double-cross me. That would be a very bad idea. Contrary to what you believe, I can do something about it. I can take you in your sleep. You are vulnerable. In your sleep, anything can get you then. You either finish my story, or I'll come for you in your sleep. I promise you, you will not like that. I'll make what you just came through look like a vacation. if I give you a ride out of here, and you promise to finish my story, then you just better finish it, or I'll visit you while you sleep. I'll become your worst nightmare. I'll make Freddy Krueger's nightmares look tame.
Bobby said. His voice was demonic sounding. I took a step back. Then Bobby was sitting in the driver's seat again. Hey, Bobby, relax. I was just testing out your mind-reading capabilities. They work. That's good. I plan to write your story first thing when I get back. You have my word on it. You can count on me, I said.
Nice try, E.T. brother. But I know you're full of shit. I suggest you make up your mind, one way or the other, very quickly. The thing behind you is very bad. I wouldn't want to stay in the darkness any longer if I were you,
Bobby said. I heard an intake of breath. It was directly behind me. Then I heard the exhalation of breath and felt the breath on the back of my neck. A cold chill ran through me. My bowels tried to let go, but I was able to keep from filling my shorts. Barely. I began to see a red glow. It was coming from behind me. It made everything appear to be covered in blood. This got me moving in a hurry. I didn't think. I just ran up the steps into the bus. I'll write your story, Bobby. Just get us the hell out of here, I said. The door shut. I looked out the window and saw the thing that had been behind me. It was horrifying. The face was almost human, except for the eyes. They were blazing red, making the thing look demonic. Also, the teeth weren't quite normal. They were sharp, very sharp. Its body wasn't human looking. It had long, long arms with long fingers that ended in claws. On its chest and back, horns stuck out everywhere. I turned away from the thing, looked at the front of the bus, and Bobby was looking back at me.
So, E.T. brother, do we have a deal? Are you going to finish my story, or are you trying to fool me?
Bobby asked. I'll write your story. Let's get the hell out of here, I said.
Very well. Just remember what I said about what I'll do to you if you don't finish my story. You wouldn't want me to visit you in your sleep. It wouldn't be good. It would be a nightmare like no other,
Bobby said. Then he turned around. The bus started, even though it looked as if it had no business running. It sounded like it was on its last leg, like the motor was ready to call it quits for good. The bus began to move. It was very slow, herky-jerky at first. Then it began to speed up a little. The motor began to smooth out, and the bus began to change around me. The windows that were missing began to reappear. The seats seemed to brighten and become new again. The bus seemed to be becoming new as it rolled along. It was picking up speed. I sat down on one of the seats, sat back, closed my eyes, but then opened them in a hurry and looked at the back of the seat in front of me. There was something written there that sent a cold chill through me. It was, Pennywise was here. I looked around the bus. There was no one on the bus besides Bobby and myself. But there was a balloon floating near the back of the bus. There was a painting on the balloon. It was a clown. It was Pennywise. As I looked at the balloon, the clown turned its head toward me and winked. I jumped back. The clown grinned. Then the balloon began to float forward. This can't be happening. It isn't part of the story, I thought. I closed my eyes, rubbed my eyelids, then opened my eyes. The balloon was gone. I looked around for a moment, then turned and looked at the driver's seat. Bobby looked back at me and winked.
You better keep your word, or else you'll be seeing me again.
Bobby said and grinned. I nodded my head, sat back, and closed my eyes. A moment later, I heard a new noise. It scared me quite badly. It was very loud. The noise was followed closely by the same noise. Then again, and again. It was a horrifying sound that was repeated over and over. I opened my eyes, looked around. I was no longer in the bus. I was sitting in my seat next to the racetrack. The noise that I was hearing were the race cars. They had just started up. The race was about to begin. I shook myself, looked around, and began to laugh. I just fell asleep. None of that shit happened. I just had a nightmare at the dirt track. It was just a nightmare, I thought. The race cars began to pull out onto the track. I laughed again. None of that happened. It was just a nightmare, I thought. I took a deep breath to calm down and laughed again. That means I don't have to write Bus 67. That's good, because I have no damn ideas for that story, I thought. I laughed again. Then a horn blew. It was nearby, very loud. I jumped, turned around, and the laugh died in my throat. A school bus was sitting beside me. I glanced up at the number. It was 67. I looked at the driver's seat. It was empty.
Bad idea, E.T. brother. You better write my story, or I'll visit you in your dreams. I will have my revenge, either on those responsible for my death, or on you. You decide.
A voice said. The bus vanished. In its place was a balloon. The balloon floated. It began to whisper my name. Then it began to tell me a story. The end. That's the end of Nightmare at the Dirt Track. This story is several years old. Of course, I reworked it before I started reading it, and reworked it as I was reading along. This is natural and understandable. A story is never really finished until the author dies. Stephen King mentioned that in the author's note for Bazaar of Bad Dreams, and I know Hemingway said something along the same lines. A story is never finished, but the author eventually has to move on. This is true. I made a lot of changes. Most were very minor, and they didn't affect the actual story. I do want to point out 3 changes that did affect the story to a degree anyway. They're from part 6. The 3 changes were the writing on the side of the bus, the graffiti on the back of the seat, and the balloon at the back of the bus. None of those were present when I wrote the original story, and they weren't even there when I reworked it. They didn't show up until I was ready to read it. Now, I can't take credit for the writing on the side of the bus. It came to me while I was listening to the novel It by Stephen King. The idea came from what was written on the back of It's jacket when he appeared to the Losers Club as a teenage werewolf.